Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Diana. If you're new, welcome. On this channel, we talk about personal finance and money related matters. So today we're going to be talking about credit card debt and ways to get out of credit card debt. Now, when it comes to credit cards, I'm sure a lot of us have credit cards. And at some point in our lives, we've either been in credit card debt or are still in credit card debt. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing some tips and ideas that I have personally used and even researched to get out of credit card debt. Hopefully this video helps someone, because I know that when you are in credit card debt, sometimes it can feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulder and you may not necessarily know where to turn or what resources you could use to help you get out of debt. And that is the main reason why I'm going to be sharing with you guys some practical ways to get out of debt. I want you to know that the process of getting out of debt is not going to be a fast and easy process. It's going to require a lot of hard work on your part, as well as a lot of self-realization to figure out what your habits are. For some, it may require you to change your way of life completely. It may require you to have a new level of self-discipline. It may require you to change your mindset about money. And overall, it may require you to get out of your comfort zone. So let's just take a second to think about what credit card debt is. Essentially, credit card debt is spending more than you can actually afford to pay back. So the first step in your debt-free journey is to ask yourself how and why you got into credit card debt to begin with. There are a lot of reasons why people get into credit card debt. It could be due to lack of financial literacy, where no one ever actually taught you how the credit card works. It could be due to an income problem where your income is significantly less than what you have in credit cards, so you're using your credit cards to supplement your income. It could also be due to a large unexpected expense that you just never saw coming. And for some, the credit card is a convenience thing, where they use the credit card to pay for things that they know they cannot actually afford at the very moment, but they know that eventually they'll pay for the item down the line. Now, I can see why these are all viable reasons why a person can easily fall into the credit card debt trap. Now, my first experience with credit card debt was when I was around 18 and I got my first mailer. You see the credit card as your rite of passage, where I'm finally an adult, I can use a credit card. But the mistake was I didn't have the credit card knowledge. I didn't know how a credit card worked. I thought it was free money. I didn't know how interest rate works. Now, back then, I used my credit card to pay for my bills, to buy clothes, to buy shoes, things that your typical 18-year-old would do with free money. And the mistake was I didn't pay the balance off in full. I didn't have that knowledge of how credit card worked. I thought I needed to pay just the minimum. And then I realized that month after month of paying the minimum, I was barely scratching the surface. I would see money leave my account, but then I would wonder why it's been almost a year and my balance is still the same. And it wasn't until I started to do research and get financially literate, then that's how I realized that the credit card is just more than free money. There's just so much more that's involved in having a credit card. And when you're given a credit card, you have to kind of be responsible. So in essence, I would say that's how I fell into the trap of credit card debt. So your next step is to figure out what your payment strategy is going to be to attack the debt. Now, there are two types of payment strategies. You have the debt snowball or you have the debt avalanche. Now, the debt snowball involves you paying your smallest debt first and then moving to your largest debt. So we're going to use a little example. So let's say you have 3 credit cards and they all had different balances. So your first credit card was $200. The second credit card was $500, and then the third one was $1,000. Those were your balances on the card. With the snowball method, you would tackle the $200 card first, pay that off. Once you paid off that card, then you would roll your payment to the next card, which would be the $500 card. So once you've paid off the first card, then you would take your next payment and roll it over to the next card. So you would now take $200 and use that $200 from the previous payment and now use it to pay the $500 card. Now with the debt avalanche method, you're paying the highest debt first or the highest balance first. So in that previous scenario, you would first pay off the $1,000 card because it had the highest interest rate. Then you would work your way down to the $200 card. The only caveat with the avalanche method is that it's going to take you a lot longer because with the higher balance, you're tackling a higher interest rate. So it takes you a lot longer to pay it off. Now, for you to decide which repayment method works best for you, you're definitely going to need a budget. So your budget is going to help you kind of put things into categories. It's going to allow you to figure out what your needs are, what your wants are, as well as what money you're going to have left over when you start paying off your credit card. And if after you've budgeted and you realize that you owe way more than you're earning, then you have to start reconsidering what are your spending habits, as well as also figure out ways to bring in extra income. So once you've gotten into the groove of making your payments, you want to make sure that you automate your payments. Make sure your payments are an automatic deduction. It's going to save you so much time, and your payments are going to be on time each month. Part of having a good credit score is making sure that your payments on time. So one thing to know is that as you are working towards paying off your credit card, you need to keep in mind that any additional spending has to be done with either a debit card or cash. You don't want to keep using that same credit card to make purchases. If you're paying a card off, you just want to keep it aside, maybe remove it from your wallet, hide it from yourself, but don't use that credit card to keep making purchases, because what's going to end up happening is that you're going to dig yourself into a bigger hole and you're not going to be able to pay off the card fast enough. Now, if you find that you are consistently making your payments and for some reason you're still not moving the needle due to a high interest rate, then you may want to consider a balance transfer card. And a lot of the balance transfer cards majority of them have like a 0% introductory rate. So that would be your opportunity to kind of be aggressive in paying off that card. If you find that you owe way too much to put on a balance transfer card, then you can possibly consider debt consolidation. Possibly with a personal loan. Now, the personal loan, the interest rate is going to be significantly less than a credit card. So that's a great option. And it's also going to put all of your payments into one payment, which is going to help you keep track of your payments. And if you do consolidate your debt to pay off all of your cards, just make sure that you're not using the cards that are paid off, because in theory, you still have the same payment amount now in the personal loan. Now, if you are in a financial hardship where maybe a life event happened and you just cannot pay your credit card and it's hurting you significantly, consider talking to your creditors. See if they have a hardship program that they can possibly offer you. Some of them can do a 0% interest rate for a certain period of time. They'll work with you, but the main goal is that you're communicating with your creditors so that they know where you stand. So another option that I'm going to mention should be seen as a last resort, which is working with a debt settlement company. Now, what a debt settlement company will do is that they will contact your creditors and negotiate with them for you to have a lesser balance. What happens is if your creditors do approve you to have a lesser balance, then ultimately you're going to hurt your credit score and it could potentially drop by 100 points simply because your creditors is forgiving part of your balance. So again, that's the last step, because that's the one that's really going to hurt your credit score. You want to make sure that you're looking for extra ways to make more money that you can kind of throw towards that debt. And with the debt settlement companies, you want to make sure that you're doing your research. There's so many companies out there and some of them are scammers. So you want to make sure that you do your research. Any company that's asking you to pay a fee before they settle your debt, that's a red flag. Any company that's asking you to stop communicating with your creditors, that's another flag. Because as I mentioned before, you should never stop communicating with your creditors. Your creditors should always know where you stand, because they're the ones who record your behaviors to the credit bureau. So if you stop communicating with the credit card company, then they're going to see you as negligent. They're going to see you as someone who's not trustworthy of repaying them back. So again, being in credit card debt does not necessarily mean that there are no options for you. It just means that you just have to figure out ways and what works best for your financial situation. The truth of the matter is the road to a debt-free journey is going to require a lot of hard work. It's going to require a lot of patience. It's going to require a lot of time. It's going to require a lot of self-discipline. But you just have to make sure that you stay the course. You want to be mindful that you're changing your habits. You have to change your habits to actually get out of debt. There's no point in paying your credit cards off only for you to repeat the same thing and you're right back into a circle. All right, guys, hopefully this video was insightful. I hope you learned something. If you are in credit card debt, make sure you do your research, make sure you stay the course, and drop in the comment section and let me know if you learned something from this video. And if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one.